Hi, thanks for signing up. Now, before we get started, you need to know that I am not an attorney. I am not a CPA. I am not a financial advisor, and I'm not a retirement planning expert. The information I'm about to share with you is for educational purposes only, and it's simply what I've learned from my experiences in real estate. What you choose to do with it is completely up to you. But my hope is that you'll discover a great alternative for investing for retirement and that you would investigate it further. But I do encourage you to consult with licensed professionals before taking action on anything you learn here. So let's get started. If you're like most people, you're probably saving for retirement through a 401k or an IRA. That means you have an administrator who invests your money in a mix of stocks and bonds, and the hope is that those investments over time will grow to a nice fat bank account that you can retire on in 20 to 30 years. The reality, however, is that even if you have double-digit returns from the stock market over 20 years, all that value is only on paper until you sell it, which means it can disappear overnight. And many people have learned that lesson the hard way. For example, because of the recent recession, many people who expected to retire during that time instead either had to work longer or settle for a much lower retirement income. This is why most retirement advisors will tell you that as you approach retirement, you should get out of the stock market and instead seek investments that are more secure, like bonds, for example. The problem with this strategy, however, is that you end up sacrificing growth for security. So rather than growing your retirement fund by 6 to 8% annually in the riskier stock market, you accept only 2 to 4% growth with bonds because they're safer. But what I want to tell you today is that you don't have to pick one or the other. You can get both. You can get high security and high growth. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how you can do that with real estate. You see, people have always used real estate to build secure, long-term wealth. And you don't have to be wealthy, and you don't have to become a landlord or a house flipper to do it either. The fact is, if you've ever borrowed money from a bank to buy a house, then you already know how it works. Basically, a bank lends money on a house in exchange for two things: a specific rate of interest and a lien on the property. So if the borrower pays as agreed, the bank will make 4 or 5 times its investment over the term. If the borrower doesn't pay as agreed, the bank gets the house back plus all the equity in the property. It's a pretty sweet deal for the bank, and that's why they've been doing it for so long. What most people don't know, however, is that you can do the exact same thing. You can be the bank. You can decide how fast your money grows, and you can protect it at the same time. And it's simple, really. All you have to do is finance a property for a buyer on your terms, just like the bank. That's it. That's the entire strategy in a nutshell. So, for example, let me show you how I use this strategy in my business. I buy, fix, and sell houses with owner financing, but I don't use banks to fund my projects. I use private lenders. A private lender is just someone who lends out their money in exchange for a fixed rate of interest. So I borrow funds from my private lenders, I pay them a great rate of interest for 20 or 30 years, and I secure their money with the property. Let me give you a real life example. I recently found a house worth $125,000 that I could buy for $85,000, including repairs. So I went to one of my private lenders, and let's call him John. Now, John's not wealthy, but he had funds in his retirement plan, and he wanted it to grow in a faster and more secure way. So John funded the $85,000 at 10% interest so I could purchase the property. So he got a first lien position on the property to protect his money, and it'll be earning 10% annual interest for the next 20 years. Now compare that to what most other people do. If John left his retirement funds in the stock market, he'd probably earn 6 to 8%, but it would all be at risk without any security, so it could disappear overnight. If he invested it in bonds, his money would be much more secure than in the stock market, but he'd only earn about 2 to 4% every year on his money. Now, but instead, John became my bank. So now he'll be earning 10% on his money every year, and it'll be secured by real estate. This is why banks and the wealthy have been doing this for so long. It just makes a lot more sense. You see, as a private lender, rather than a stockholder or a bondholder, you set the terms up front and in writing. Because you have a contract, you can reasonably predict the value at any given time, and that makes retirement planning much easier. You control the factors for success. You control the contract and the property. It's not influenced by government or corporate behavior. And finally, if your expectations aren't met, then you get the property back and all the equity that's built into it. And anyone can do this. All you have to do is be the bank for someone who wants to buy a house, whether it's a real estate investor like me or just someone else that you know. Now, obviously, there are still a lot of unanswered questions here, like, how do I use my retirement funds to do this? How do I make sure that I'm protected? What happens if the borrower stops paying? What if I plan to retire in less than 30 years? And how do I manage the loan? And there's just no way I could cover all the answers here because everyone's situation is different. But I do want to help. That's why I'm offering a free coaching session so I can walk you through this strategy, step by step, and answer all of your questions. So just fill out the form below and I'll contact you to set up some time to talk. If you're here in the San Antonio area, then we can schedule a meeting and review all your questions over some breakfast tacos. And don't worry, I don't have anything to sell you. I just want to answer your questions and set you on the right path for success. Now the big question is, well, why? Why would I be willing to share my time and all this information with you for free? And it's for two reasons. First of all, this is a solid and proven way to build a better retirement, and I believe that everyone deserves to know it. This way, more people can enjoy the retirement that they've earned and that they've always dreamed about. And secondly, I rely on private lenders and referrals for my business. And I believe that once you see how great this works, you'll share it with others, and many of them will choose to join my team of private lenders. So whether you choose to become a private lender for an investor like me or someone else that you know that is just looking to buy a house, I want to help you get started. So sign up below and schedule your free coaching session. There's absolutely no obligation and there's nothing to buy. So thank you for visiting RetireBetterWithRealEstate.com, and I hope to hear from you soon.